We're going to go across to the White House now, where US President Donald Trump is speaking as Washington and London agree to a free trade agreement. Let's take a listen.
Beef, ethanol, and virtually all of the products produced by our great farmers. And our Secretary, as you know, of Agriculture is here. Brooke, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
You'll let the farmers know. In addition, the UK will reduce or eliminate numerous non-tariff barriers that unfairly discriminated against American products. But this is now turning out, I think, really to be a great deal for both countries, because it'll be really great for the UK also. So they're opening up the country. Their country is a little closed, and we appreciate that. They'll also be fast-tracking American goods through their customs process, so our exports go to a very, very quick form of approval, and there won't be any red tape. Things are going to move very quickly both ways. The final details are being written up in the coming weeks. We'll have it all very conclusive, but the actual deal is a very conclusive one. We think just about everything's been approved. So good for both countries, and we'll also receive new market access for American chemicals, machinery, and many other industrial products that weren't allowed, and they'll end up getting products that they'll be able to price, and if they like them better and we make great products, they'll be buying those products, but they were not available in the UK. Furthermore, in a historic step, the deal includes plans that will bring the United Kingdom into the economic security alignment with the United States. That's the first of its kind. So we have a big economic security blanket, and that's very important. And we feel very, very comfortable with that, because it's been a great ally, truly one of our great allies. I mean, a lot of people say our greatest ally. I don't want to insult people by saying that, but I can say it's certainly one of our greatest, and right at the top. And they're the first one we're talking about. And by the way, we have many meetings planned today and tomorrow, and every country wants to be making deals. And we have a meeting, as you know, Scott will be going over to Switzerland on Saturday, and that'll be very, very interesting. We'll find out, but I think they want to make a deal very badly too. Both countries have agreed that the economic security is national security, and will be working together as allies to ensure that we have a strong industrial base, appropriate export controls, and protections for key technologies and industries like steel. Steel is a big factor. Both countries will become stronger with steel and things necessary for military. You know, we used to build ships and other things literally at a level that nobody's ever seen, and we haven't. We've eased up. And
President Donald, and this is a really fantastic, historic day in which we can announce
your negotiating team as well, particularly yes, Howard and Jameson, who've done an incredible job, a very professional job, and my team as well. Two negotiating teams have worked at pace now for a number of weeks to bring in this deal today. Really important deal. This is going to boost trade between and across our countries. It's going to not only protect jobs but create jobs, opening market access. And as you say, Donald, the timing couldn't be more apt, because not only was it 80 years ago today that victory came for Europe after and at the end of the Second World War, but of course on that day the UK and the US stood together as the closest of allies. And Donald, I think even down to the hour, because you may or may not know that it was about this time of day, exactly 80 years ago, that Winston Churchill announced victory in Europe, and that led to great celebrations across Europe, across America, but particularly in the United Kingdom. Literally people going out into the street, putting bunting up, going up to the palace. And so to be able to announce this great deal on the same day, 80 years forward, almost at the same hour, and as we were 80 years ago, with the UK and the US standing side by side, I think is incredibly important and makes this truly historic. That close relationship has endured over those 80 years. As you know, Donald, when it comes to defence and security and intelligence sharing, of course, There are no two countries that are closer than our two countries. And now we take this into new and important territory by adding trade and the economy to the closeness of our relationship. It is built, as you say, on those notions of fairness and reciprocal arrangements. We've always had a fair and balanced arrangement between our countries. This builds on that, hugely important for sectors like car manufacturing and for steel and aluminium and so many others. And yes, we can finish hammering out some of the details, but there's a fantastic platform here, including, of course, on the tech side, where I think I'm right in saying we're the only two Western countries with trillion-dollar sectors when it comes to tech. And in the end, it comes down to, as you say, Donald, economic security is national security. On national security, we've been absolutely the closest of allies for so many years, keeping the peace through that close alliance, that friendship. And now we add to that this deal on trade and the economy. And I want to thank you for your leadership on that, Donald, and for the way in which your team have negotiated this. And I'm so pleased that we've got this deal, we've finalised it, and we've built an incredible platform for the future. So thank you so much. Donald, I'm now going to go and do a press conference. I think you have your press in with you. But on the details, I think if you've got Howard, we can deal with that through one of my team.
That's great. Well, Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much. It's an honor. We're going to have a continued, maybe a better relationship than ever before. You know, I don't know if the media knows, but the U.S. and U.K. have been working for years to try and make a deal. And it never quite got there.
Yeah.
It did with this Prime Minister. So I want to just congratulate you.
Well, with this President, this Prime Minister, we've managed to achieve what many people have tried to achieve for many years.
That's right.
And I'm really pleased. And it feels completely historic and on a special 80-year anniversary as well. So, Donald, thank you so much. It's really good to have got this deal over the line. Tribute to both teams, tribute to our countries, and tribute to your leadership.
Thank you. Well, it really is a great thing. And you go do your press conference, and I'll see you soon. Maybe speak to you later. But thank you very much. And an incredible thing. I can't tell you that for so many years, even as I sat, everybody talked and talked and talked about a deal with. It just seemed like a natural deal, but it was not done. But now it was done with us. So I feel very proud to have been a part of it. Keir, thank you very much.
Thanks, Donald, and we'll speak again soon.
Very good. So long. Bye. Why don't I do this? Why don't I have our Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, give a little description of the deal pretty quick, and then the good side, the very nice side, we'll be speaking about it also, maybe, from so you get a pretty equal. I think it's a very, it's just been a deal that was, we thought, very complicated. It became very simple. It's opening up the country that we really didn't have the kind of access to that I would have thought. I was surprised. I think it's why the deal never got done before. It was, you know, they've been working on this deal for 25 years. And we got it done, and we got it done. Really, it's going to be great for both countries. So, Howard, if you could go, and then somebody else, you may have, you'll pick whoever you want who'd like to do it. I have a feeling you're going to do it, right? So you guys go ahead, and then we'll take questions right after that. But I think you'll get a pretty good understanding of how big it is. It's a very large deal, very big deal. And Howard, go ahead.
So the UK is the 6th largest economy in the world and the 4th largest that we export to, right? So it's a huge market, a top 10 market. If you remember Liberation Day, they were at 10% because we have balanced trade with the UK, right? They say they have a surplus, but of course that counts gold bullion, which is, so let's just call it balanced trade. So how do you open up a market in balanced trade? People think it's impossible. They've always thought it was impossible until President Trump came on the scene and changed the way things work. So here's what we've got. We've opened up new market access, ethanol, beef, machinery, all the agricultural products. They've agreed to open their markets, and that will add $5 billion of opportunity to American exporters. So the question is, why would they do that now? Because they've never done it before. And we still have our 10% tariff on, which will produce $6 billion of revenue for the United States. So the idea was, how do they keep their jobs, protect their economy, and do the best for their people while opening the market for us? And the way is they studied it, their team was exceptional, and they tried to figure out the markets that they're importing from other people and try to send them over to America. So why were they always favoring others and not us? And what they've done is they've found the ways to do that so that we have new access, right? But the UK workers are protected, and that was the balance. So we did a deal with them in automobiles, and you know, if you're not building here, we charge you a 25% tariff. But the president, and by the way, I want to make this clear, while Jameson and I worked hard, this was the president's deal, and people think, oh, that's not the way it works. If you got to sit next to him, I have the best deal maker to my left, and if you don't think that we take advantage of him calling the prime minister and getting that deal done, you don't understand who's the president of the United States. So he's the closer. He gets deals done that we could never get done because he understands business, he understands deals, and that's why we're here today. So he agreed they could send 100,000 cars into America and only pay a 10% tariff. And that protects their car industry. And remember, we do 16 million cars a year. So this is only like 0.6%. But for the UK auto people, this is tens of thousands of jobs that the president agreed that he would protect for them. So he made that deal, right? Then steel and aluminum, right? Their steel business has been destroyed like everybody else has been destroyed by people dumping steel into their markets. And British Steel had announced it was closing down. So the British government, as part of this deal, nationalized British Steel, and they're going to match the kinds of models we do. They'll put tariffs on, they'll put quotas on. They want to do it with America so they can be part of the resurgence of steel and aluminum in America, and that saves them, again, thousands and thousands of jobs. So if you go step by step, aero and commercial planes, they sell Rolls-Royce engines to Boeing. We've agreed to let Rolls-Royce engines and those kind of plane parts to come over tariff-free. And what you're going to hear today is there's going to be an announcement in the UK that they are buying $10 billion worth of Boeing planes later today, but I'm going to let the name of the airline announce it because that's theirs to do it. Part of this deal was always to do it together and to do it strong, and you can see the numbers on this board. Everything about this board works exceptionally well for the United States of America. It lays out the plan that you can work with us in autos, you can work with us with aero and commercial, you can work with us in pharmaceuticals if you have a supply chain that is secure and protected in national security. So we feel really good about the deal. You've heard the Prime Minister, he feels really good about the deal, right? And we started at 10% and we ended at 10%, and the market for America is better, and this is a perfect example of why Donald Trump produced Liberation Day. People don't understand he gets things done in a matter of time. This would have taken Jameson and I 3 years, maybe. And instead, we got it done in 45 days, certainly, because we work for Donald Trump. So, Jameson, my partner in all this, maybe Jameson, you'd like to talk a little, and then we'll turn it over to the UK.
Sure, happy to do that. Everyone has great remarks. I just have to echo the President and the Prime Minister when we talk about VE Day. This is something we've been waiting for decades, and there's no more appropriate day to do this. And when we step back and we look back a few weeks from now or months from now or years from now, we're going to look back at this day and better appreciate the significance, I think. And I'll just say as well, in terms of negotiating, I mean, the UK negotiators, you know, we've got one right here, did an incredible job, right? This is why you win wars, right? When you act like this. And the ambassador, he knows more about trade than a lot of us here, based on his background. And I would say on this deal, Mr. President, what we've shown is that it is time to change the way we do trade. People said we couldn't do a global tariff. We did a global tariff. They said no one would want to deal with us. People want a deal. They said no one give offers. You saw that stack of offers I showed you yesterday of all those countries. Said we wouldn't get deals, and here we are with a deal with the 6th largest economy. We've agreed to have fair and reciprocal trade, and we've done it in record time.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
Great job.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ambassador, please. Well, Mr. President, thank you very much indeed in hosting us this morning. And thank you very much indeed also for that very typical 11th hour intervention by you with your phone call to the President, demanding even more out of this deal than any of us expected. So thank you for that. The Prime Minister was delighted, obviously, to take that call late at night. But you took it to another level, and I think the point I would make is twofold. One is that if we're going to rebalance and rebuild international trade in a way that serves all our interests, then we're better doing that together than separately and apart, and that's what we're on a mission to do. But secondly, you've done what you said you would do. You said to the Prime Minister when he came and we visited in the Oval that you would do a good trade deal with the United Kingdom, that you would do it at pace, and that we would be first. And you have delivered that. You've been true to your word. So thank you very much indeed for that. For us, it's not the end. It's it's the end just of the beginning. I mean, there is yet more we can do in reducing tariffs and trade barriers so as to open up our markets to each other even more than we're agreeing to do today. But it also provides us with the platform, the springboard, to do what I think will be even more valuable for both our countries in the future, and that's creating a technology partnership between the United States and the United Kingdom so that we can harness science and technology in order to create future industries and future jobs, and to do that together in the way we work so closely already in the national security and defence area. We can just take that to yet further areas of science, enterprise and endeavour. So we're looking forward to doing that in the coming months. You've launched us extremely well today. It just, in my view, as the Prime Minister has said, just shows what two countries who trust each other, who are confident in each other and are familiar with each other can do, not just for ourselves, but for the rest of the world who need to benefit from a bigger and better international trading system.
Thank you very much. It was beautifully stated. What a beautiful accent, too. I'd like to have that accent. Thank you.
My mother would be proud.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
James Matthews from Sky News.
Yes.
Can I ask, why Britain and why now? And you've described this deal as a full and comprehensive deal, and yet we've just heard from Mr. Matthews that it's the end of the beginning. Clearly, there's much more work still to do.
Yeah.
With respect, are you overstating the reach and significance of this deal because you're a president who needs a result at a difficult time?
I think that it's a great deal for both parties. It's for us. We're opened up. I didn't know how closed it was. Quite closed, the market, as you know, the UK. And it opens up a tremendous market for us. And it works out very well, And a lot of assets. You see the chart, and those are tremendous assets. But we've been trying, and when you say why us, meaning your country, we've been trying for years, and they've been trying for years to make a deal, including when I was in the, first term. It would always be people talking, but they weren't getting it done. But for 25 years before that, they were trying always to make a deal, a very significant deal. I actually, until I looked at the numbers, I didn't realize this is a very conclusive deal, but we think we can grow it even from that. But this is a maxed out deal, not like you said it. You said it really incorrectly. This is a maxed out deal that we're going to make bigger, and we make it bigger through growth. But we have tremendous assets involved. I was surprised to see how big your country is in trade, actually. One of the biggest in technology and so many other things. It's agriculture. I really didn't know. It's depending on your definition, it's from 4 to 5 to 6. That's pretty big in the world. So I was very impressed by that. But we're going to take it to new levels. It's it's a very big deal right now, but I think it is going to grow just of its own volition. It's going to grow, and over time there'll be changes made, there'll be adjustments made because we're flexible. We'll see things that we can do even better, but it's very conclusive, and we think everyone's going to be happy, and the people of your country are going to be very impressed with the result, and they'll be able to buy from more people. They'll be able to price things differently. They'll be able to get some products that aren't available to them now that we make better than anybody in the world. And it's just something that it's a great thing that it came together. It's so nice because we have many countries want to make a deal, and many countries are very unhappy that we happen to choose this one, to be honest with you. But it's a long time, our oldest ally, or just about. I guess a couple of people claim that too, but let's put it right at the top. I think it's going to be something very special for UK and special for the United States.
Mr. President,
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reagan Reese with the Daily Caller. How close are you to more deals, and when do you expect the next to be announced?
Well, very close. We have numerous deals. I know Howard's going back. As soon as this is finished, your press conference, he's got numerous. And Scott, who's right over here, who's fantastic, by the way. You were great on television this morning. I watched you. That was very good. You gave them a little lesson in the world and economics. But Scott's going to be going to Switzerland, meeting with China, and they very much want to make a deal. We can all play games. Who made the first call? Who didn't make the? It doesn't matter. It only matters what happens in that room. But I will tell you that China very much wants to make a deal. We'll see how that works out. Every country throughout.
You were listening to U.S. President Donald Trump speak as Washington announces it has concluded a free trade agreement with the United States. Now, the details of the deal, from what we're hearing, is that over time changes will be made to the deal, and both sides are flexible. Earlier, we had Mr. Trump, who spoke with Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer via the telephone, and Keir Starmer he had high praise for the U.S. president and this deal itself. We can now bring in France 24's international affairs commentator Douglas Herbert, who was listening to what we were seeing on our screens with me coming out of the Oval Office. Doug, what have you got?
What did we just see there? Well, the bottom line is we don't know exactly what went down here because the terms of the trade deal were not made very clear. The Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, did try to outline the broad terms of the deal. They include sort of lowering the tariffs on British car imports to the U.S. from 25%, which is very high, to 10%, allowing about 100,000 British cars to come into the American markets. He also alluded to the fact that Britain is going to look for countries from which it now is buying goods and try to shift them to the U.S. so that the U.S. gets those markets instead. But what really strikes me, and like I said, we do not know the specifics of this deal because Trump handed over to his Commerce Secretary and basically said, you explain it. And then he went on to do it. But it was more fulsome, and I use the word fulsome praise, fawning praise, the type of obsequiousness that has become sort of a hallmark, a signature part of this administration, of everyone around Donald Trump, a love-in involving Donald Trump, where it seems almost more of the exercise is to show how beholden and how loyal you are to Donald Trump himself, the person of Donald Trump, than actually talking about the content and the specifics of what's going down. So, Howard Lutnick, he alluded to the fact that their markets, beef and ethanol and other food products that are now going to have broader access to the British market. And you could say objectively on the surface, well, sounds like a good deal. Who's going to object to that? Problem is, first of all, what we didn't hear are the flip sides of this. We certainly didn't hear it today from this very orchestrated, like I said, love-in for Donald Trump. We didn't hear of the potential flip sides and downsides. I can guarantee you that the British are going to be very closely monitoring and watching what the terms of the trade are because Europeans, and including non-EU member Britain, have had a lot of concerns in the past about the quality of American goods coming into Europe. European standards, especially as applies to agricultural products and foods, differ, you might say, are tighter and more restrictive than a lot of American products. A lot of Europeans see a lot of, especially American beef is being pumped up on all sorts of steroids and chemicals and basically just not meeting the standards of the European market. We didn't hear any of that today. We got the gloss, we got the positives, we got, let me use the word, we got the spin, and we got the praise for Trump. I guess
even praise that came from London. Keir Starmer was...
Absolutely. Look, Keir Starmer, we always speak of him as the bridge. He sees himself, this gives him and Britain a new lease on life at a time, when they were sort of down and out after Brexit. Yeah. They had a poor relationship or not a fantastic relationship, special relationship with the U.S. There had been a little bit of a pall cast on that. This represents the perfect opportunity to be seen as that bridge, to be able to do business, a transactional sort of business with Donald Trump across the Atlantic, and then also serve as a bridge to Europe, to try to make deals with Europe as well. And so the UK, you could say you don't blame them, right? The UK, they're in that bridge position. Why not make the most of it if they see it as being in their national interest? But my hunch is that what the U.S. perhaps sees as a slam dunk of a bilateral trade deal with a very valued partner, the UK, may not go down as rosily in Britain, especially among people who are going to start scrutinizing the fine print of this deal. And when they really start to see the terms of it, my main takeaway from this today is it seemed quite orchestrated whenever you have people around Donald Trump. It had a little bit of that tone and tenor of the White House clash with Zelensky, where you had a tag team effort between Trump and his vice president, J.D. Vance, who was also standing behind Trump today, sort of, chewing out Zelensky in this tirade. Obviously, this wasn't a tirade today, but it is a very sort of polished, orchestrated, not necessarily scripted, but they definitely knew. Howard Lutnick gave the impression of a commerce secretary who knew that when his turn to talk came, and it came very quickly, right after Trump got off the phone with the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, when it came time for talk, he had to spend as much time laying out the vague terms of the deal and how great it will be for the U.S. as praising Donald Trump, saying there is no way me working with my colleagues ever could have gotten this deal done, even say 3 years. The only reason we were able to do it is because we were working with a man who has the nous and the negotiating genius of a man like this president, Donald Trump. He makes things happen that no one can make happen. That's the tone time and again out of this administration. It's hard to sift through it and get where's the substance and where is the obsequious fawning.
While you were speaking, we actually had a statement coming in from Keir Starmer, who is essentially saying that this deal came at an apt time for the United Kingdom. And, of course, Donald Trump is still speaking to reporters there. And the U.S. president essentially said that the United States will be dealing with Europe, and Washington intends to make a similar trade deal with Europe.
I'll just leave you with that thought. I mean, Donald Trump, this really is the archetype deal in the sense that this is the type of deal that he is telling the world all countries eventually will come around to. Donald Trump, when he lays out uses tariffs as a cudgel, in his vision and in the vision of those around him, this isn't the U.S., abdicating all the goodwill it had towards the world. A finely tuned over the past 70, 80 years relationship of supply chains and trade relations between countries, complicated, often nuanced, difficult, more than meets the eye. Using these tariffs as a cudgel, he thinks it's the right answer, and that eventually every country is going to, in some way, shape, or form, every country is going to do what the UK has done today and come essentially, if not entirely cap in hand, groveling to a certain extent. This is about every country, to a certain extent, getting down and genuflecting before the altar of Donald Trump's transactional deal-making genius. That's the vision he has laid out here. He's gotten some of that today in this deal with the UK and the US. What the terms and the details of that deal are going to look like and how it's going to pan out in the long run, watch this space.
He wrote The Art of the Deal, didn't he? Thank you very much for that, Douglas Herbert there.